Imagine a world where the United States of America, the world's largest economy, collapses. What could possibly lead to such a catastrophic event? This query is far from a mere flight of fancy. It's a realistic exploration of the future in the face of alarming indicators. We're talking about signs that don't merely whisper of change but scream of potential disaster. The United States, a global powerhouse, teeters on a precipice. It's a precarious balancing act between stability and collapse. As economic indicators, social unrest and political turmoil brew a tempestuous cocktail of uncertainty. Think of the economic instability that has been creeping in, the growing social unrest that's impossible to ignore, and the political turmoil that seems to be a constant headline. Each one, a domino, ready to trigger a cascade that could shake the very foundation of the United States. Stay tuned to explore the factors that could lead to the potential collapse of the USA. The economy plays a pivotal role in the stability of a nation. So what could possibly go wrong with the USA's economy? Firstly, we have the increasing national debt. This financial burden isn't just a number on a balance sheet, it's a ticking time bomb. A bloated national debt can lead to increased interest rates, which in turn can cause a slowdown in economic growth. As the debt grows, so does the interest owed, and this vicious cycle can eventually lead to a financial crisis. Next, let's talk about inflation. Inflation is like a silent thief, stealthily eroding the purchasing power of your hard-earned dollars. While a certain level of inflation is healthy for an economy, unchecked inflation can spiral into hyperinflation, rendering money virtually worthless. And let's not forget, inflation has a nasty habit of accelerating faster than wages can keep up, leading to a decrease in the standard of living. And then, there's the specter of unemployment. High unemployment rates not only cause personal hardships, but they can also trigger a cascade of negative effects on the economy. When people are out of work, they spend less, causing businesses to earn less, which can then lead to even more layoffs. It's a domino effect that can quickly push an economy into recession. These economic indicators, the mounting national debt, creeping inflation, and escalating unemployment, are like the three horsemen of an economic apocalypse. They can severely impact the nation's economy, leading to a decrease in the standard of living, social unrest, and even political instability. But one thing we must remember is that an economy is a complex and dynamic system. It doesn't operate in a vacuum. It's influenced by a multitude of factors, both internal and external. And while these indicators are certainly worrisome, they are not the be-all and end-all. But the economy isn't the only factor at play here. There's more to the story. A nation's strength lies in the unity of its people. But what happens when that unity starts to crumble? In the grand tapestry of a nation's story, social factors play a crucial role in determining its stability. If we take a closer look at the United States, we can observe certain social dynamics unfolding that could potentially lead to its collapse. At the heart of these dynamics is social inequality. Over the past few decades, the gap between the rich and the poor has widened significantly. The wealthiest 1% of Americans now hold more wealth than the entire middle class. This stark disparity is not just a matter of numbers, it is a catalyst for resentment, frustration, and in extreme cases, civil unrest. But social inequality is just one piece of the puzzle. Racial tensions, a historic and deep-seated issue in the United States, continue to simmer beneath the surface. The country's diverse racial and ethnic fabric is one of its greatest strengths, but also a source of division. Incidents of racial violence and demonstrations against systemic racism have become increasingly common, exacerbating existing social fissures. Civil unrest, an offshoot of these social problems, is another factor contributing to the potential collapse. The past few years have witnessed an uptick in protests, riots, and social disturbances. These are not isolated incidents, but symptoms of a nation grappling with deep-rooted social issues. They serve as a stark reminder that social unrest can destabilize a nation, shaking it to its very core. However, it's important to note that social unrest doesn't occur in a vacuum. It is often a response to perceived injustices and inequalities. Therefore, tackling these social issues is not just about quelling unrest. It's about addressing the underlying causes, ensuring equal opportunities for all, and fostering a sense of unity among diverse groups. Yet these social issues are not the only contributors. There's a third factor that could lead to the potential collapse of the USA. The political climate of a nation dictates its direction, but what happens when that climate becomes turbulent? In the grand chessboard of global politics, a nation's stability is often gauged by the strength and unity of its political landscape. However, when the pillars of this landscape begin to shake, the tremors are felt far and wide. Let's delve into the political indicators of a potential collapse, such as political polarization, corruption, and lack of effective leadership. Political polarization, the phenomenon where public opinion diverges towards extreme ends of the spectrum, is escalating at an alarming rate in the USA. This intensifying divide is not merely an ideological chasm, it's a schism that threatens to fracture the very fabric of the nation. When a society is polarized, the common ground shrinks, consensus becomes a Herculean task, and governance suffers. Then, there's corruption, a disease that gnaws at the roots of any political system. From lobbying to campaign financing, the lines between influence and corruption have been blurred, casting a shadow of distrust over the political machinery. When transparency is compromised, it's the faith of the citizens that gets eroded, further destabilizing the political ecosystem. Finally, the absence of effective leadership is another telltale sign of a potential collapse. Leadership is not just about managing the present, but also about envisioning the future. When leaders falter, when they fail to inspire, to unify, to guide, the nation loses its way. The ship of state needs a steady hand at the helm, and without it, the vessel is left to the mercy of the stormy seas. These factors, intertwined as they are, contribute to the political instability that can push a nation to the brink of collapse. The tremors of political discord resonate beyond the borders, influencing international relations, trade, and even the global economy. So, we've discussed the economic, social, and political factors, but what does all this mean for the future of the USA? Based on these indicators, the potential collapse of the USA seems more plausible than ever. But is it inevitable? As we've traversed the complex terrain of economic indicators, social unrest, and political turmoil, it's clear that the United States faces significant challenges. These factors, like pieces of a puzzle, interlock to form a picture of a nation at a crossroads. Let's revisit these factors briefly. The economic indicators are worrisome, with widening wealth gaps and mounting national debt. This economic instability is a breeding ground for social unrest, as people become disillusioned and frustrated. Adding fuel to the fire, we've seen political turmoil reaching unprecedented heights, with deepening divisions and a lack of consensus on how to navigate these stormy seas. What might the consequences be if these trends continue unchecked? A potential economic collapse could result in the devaluation of the dollar, skyrocketing inflation, and a massive increase in unemployment. Social unrest could escalate to widespread civil disorder, further destabilizing the nation. And political turmoil could lead to a breakdown in governance, making it increasingly difficult for the country to address these issues effectively. However, it's important to understand that these are potential outcomes, not certainties. They represent a path the United States could find itself on if these issues are not addressed. But the future is not set in stone. It's shaped by the actions we take, the policies we implement, and the values we uphold. What can investors take away from this? It's critical to stay informed, to understand the broader context in which you're operating, and to be prepared for different scenarios. Diversification, both geographically and across asset classes, could be a prudent strategy in these uncertain times. Remember, the future is not set in stone. The potential collapse of the USA is not inevitable, but it's a possibility that should not be ignored. The choices made today, by individuals, communities, and leaders, will determine the path the country takes. The future is in our hands. Let's ensure it's a future we can all be proud of. It's crucial to stay informed about the world around us. By subscribing, you'll be privy to more insightful content that will help you navigate the uncertainties of our times. So don't forget to subscribe for more enlightening discussions. Stay informed, stay prepared.